the stage now. I'm ready to rage now. I feel like an animal stuck in a cage and I'm ready to break out. My time, my time. None of you people can tell me to stop. This time, like the last time, you better get ready to race to the top. Ready to do this, show you what the truth is. I step on the field, it's time to get real. I'm feeling so ruthless. My time. None of you people can tell me to stop. Lower the lights down. Hand over my crown. Hand over my heart. I do this for my town. I do this for my crowd. So turn me up real loud. My time. None of you people can tell me to stop. Yeah. So what are you afraid of? Those feelings are made up. Get in the game, your moment of fame. Show them what you made of. It's time that we stand up. It's time that we man up. For anyone asking who is the best, we putting our hands up. My time. Nothing can keep me from reaching the top. This time, like the last time, I'm moving so fast, I'm ready to rise. I'm ready to throw down. It's time for the showdown. I'm ready to rise. Don't be surprised, I'll take on the world now. My time. None of you people can tell me to stop. Lower the lights down. Hand over my crown. Hand over my heart. I do this for my town. I do this for my crowd. So turn me up real loud. My time. None of you people can tell me to stop. My time. None of you people can tell me to stop. My town, my crown. We know what it takes to be reaching the top. We're reaching the top. We're reaching the top. We know what it takes to be reaching the top. My time. None of you people can tell me to stop. My town, my crown. We know what it takes to be reaching the top. We're reaching the top. We're reaching the top. We know what it takes to be reaching the top. Lower the lights down. Hand over my crown. Hand over my heart. I do this for my town. I do this for my crowd. So turn me up real loud. My time. None of you people can tell me to stop. Turning the track up. I'm never gonna back down. Hand over my heart. I do this for my town. I do this for my crowd. So turn me up real loud. My time. None of you people can tell me to stop.
Live from iRacing's virtual Las Vegas Motor Speedway in Las Vegas, Nevada. Welcome, sim racing fans, to round 10 of the North American Sim Racing Association Triple M Pulling Truck Series, the city that never sleeps 250, live on Racecraft TV. Happy that all of you are along for the ride with us here tonight on this beautiful Friday evening. Alongside Jordan Hicks, my name is Joshua Lee, with track and car cameras tonight provided by Istvan Balo at trackcams22.com. Jordan, the calendar continues to work its way down. We're going into the latter half of the season now, and you can see we've started to beginning highlighting those playoff races. Atlanta is where those playoffs are going to start, and it's the battle for the top 16 that we are starting to watch. And for any driver who has been struggling this season, they need to make sure they get on their game now with only 5 races left in the regular season.
And you know, definitely this series has been very, very crazy to watch ever since we started on July 16th. And so on October 29th, we go to Atlanta. So everything's going to heat up even more there. Josh, I'm excited to get the playoffs started and watch these drivers dominate the tracks.
And we will definitely see who will end up being the top driver by the end of that calendar. Right now, it is Stephen Thomas who has a commanding lead at the top by over 100 points right now as of the last round. Not at Bristol, excuse me. Devin Painter, Keith Bradley, Robbie Richards, Michael McKinnon rounding out your top 5 on the points. Brady LaBeouf, Joey Doucette, Jesse Schrage, Taylor Peacock, and Cody Knott, the current top 10. And beginning in the next round, we will give you that top 16 every week as we inch closer and closer to that playoff cutoff. But tonight, we are here at the Las Vegas Motor Speedway, America's racing showplace, and opened in 1971 here in beautiful Las Vegas, Nevada. Always provides some exciting intermediate mile-and-a-half racing here in the NASCAR Truck Series. Tonight's race analysis, 134 laps we'll go racing for tonight. Stage 1 break at lap 30, stage 2 break at lap 60, and we'll go racing all the way to the end of lap number 134. 3 sets of tires are awaiting the drivers in the pit lane, so they'll have 1 set on the truck, 3 in the pits. Then 100% fuel is going to make for a fuel window, Jordan, of roughly about 55 to 60 laps, and that could prove to be a bit of a challenge for these drivers because you can tell by the stages, 30 lap opening stages. These drivers technically will not need to pit for fuel until the end of stage 2, but they're going to want tires, especially by the end of stage 1.
And you know, especially here at Las Vegas, you know, this track can be very challenging depending on what your state of tire is right now. And so if your tires are very bad because you used them too much at the start, you may not have the best run going into the end of stage 1. And so you got to be smart. If I were them, I would definitely get a new set of Goodyear tires on my truck at the start of stage number 2 and just make it for a safer ride around Las Vegas.
Qualifying is wrapping its way up here now as we continue to get ready for tonight's event, and we thank you for joining us for round number 10 of the season for the NASRA Triple M Pulling Truck Series. Always glad to be with you all here on these beautiful Friday evenings, and we're getting ready to go racing in Sin City tonight for the next round of the NASRA Triple M Pulling Truck Series season. Just like that, field has been qualified. It is time to take to the starting grid for tonight's race from virtual Las Vegas, and grabbing the pole position tonight, it is going to be the number 11 of Dustin Scruggs. What a run for the number 11. He won at the challenging racetrack of Bristol 1 week ago, and he is starting on the pole here in Las Vegas, only by about 1,000th of a second over Michael McKinnon, Brady LaBeouf, Stephen Gregory, Chris Cinnamon, Clint Mata, your top 6. As we go over to the next page, you can take a look at more of the names dropping down. Robbie Richards, Eric Zimmerman, Stephen Thomas, Taylor Peacock, that top 10, with Jose Luis Rivera, Devin Painter rounding out the first 6 rows, Dana Shepard, Joey Doucette, Raul Meza, Logan Quinn, Bill Lester, Jeffrey Sickles down towards P18, and rounding out the field, it is Jacob Klinkart, Torrey Thompson, Cody Knott, Kyle Hess, and Brandon Bullock that round out the 23 drivers who are ready to go racing here from virtual Las Vegas as we inch closer and closer to the start of tonight's race. Jordan, they're getting lined up now at the starting line to take to the starting grid. A lot of different drivers you can go with for a prediction here. I don't think there's really any bad prediction, especially with those top five. It's Stephen Gregory, relatively new face who we have not seen in this series yet this season. He's looking to make his mark already here in the first round.
And you know, that's the thing too. And if I'm completely correct, Josh, we have had these same winners 2 times in a row, if I'm saying that correctly. So there's been a few drivers for the last 9 rounds that we've been, and there's been drivers who have won 2 of those races in a row. So we've got Dustin Scruggs with 2 wins. We got Robbie Richards with 2 wins, Kyle Hess with 2 wins, and Keith Bradley with 2 wins. But there's Stephen Thomas, the only driver to come out in this series with not 2 wins, like I've been mentioning. And so, Josh, I think that's going to be an eye to look at on the track, because there's so many good racers, but so many of them have been in that spot, and maybe they've been ruined maybe because the tires are fuel. But I'm really looking forward to see who makes it to the end tonight and who walks away in victory lane.
Yeah, everybody this season has gotten at least 2 wins. There has been 1 win followed a couple weeks later by a 2nd win. Only driver to go back-to-back is Keith Bradley, Daytona Road Course and Pocono. And Stephen Thomas still waiting on that 2nd win. He is currently the only solo winner left. Will we see another solo winner, or will we see Stephen Thomas finally get that 2nd win this season? We are back on Racecraft TV for the NASRA Triple M Pulling Truck Series. Last week's winner from Bristol Motor Speedway, Dustin Scruggs, is going to lead the field to green. Pace truck is down and away, and let's go racing from Sin City. We are green in Vegas. Trouble through the grass for Clint Mata. We'll grab a quick look at your Racecraft TV replay, see what happened to the 7 machine of Clint Mata. Looked like he got just a little bit too much coming off of turn number 4 and went down into the grass. We'll grab another look at this replay, see exactly what happened, and you can see it starting to develop there. And took a trip through the grass, Jordan, but it looks like that 7 truck still relatively good to go. And as we go back live, Brady LaBeouf able to take over the race lead. Issues for Dustin Scruggs. He's stuck on the outside line, falls back now to P6. This is not the struggle that Scruggs was looking for early on in this race, Jordan.
And, you know, definitely we're used to seeing him completely run away with that lead, but like you mentioned, he's stuck behind a little bit of traffic right now. So as the laps go down, we're going to see if he can get through, or maybe, Josh, if he drops spots, because that'll be very interesting. We don't really see him do that much here in this series, and so we usually see him at the top of the leaderboard, but you never know, something could happen, and Las Vegas could not be his specified track, especially for his driving style.
On board, battle for the lead, Chris Cinnamon trying to get that spot away from Brady LaBeouf, who currently holds that top spot here. You can see Cinnamon going for a move. Is it going to be worthwhile down into turn 3? And it looks like, yes, it will be. Chris Cinnamon will go up to the race lead, and now Stephen Gregory goes to the bottom. Gregory is a familiar name to the NASRA Triple M Pulling Truck Series, but this season he has not made a start. This is his first one of this season of action. So as we continue on with the night, interesting to see how Stephen Gregory is going to get sort of reacclimated acclimated to this series as he is giving a little bit of a shove down the back straightaway to the 3 of Chris Cinnamon through turn 4. Cinnamon able to clear that line on the outside. He's went up to give a little bit of a block to Brady LaBeouf there in the 9. But Jordan, it's very difficult to lead this race and try and control both of those lines because much like the current package in the NASCAR Cup Series, very difficult to run away at the front of the field.
And definitely when you're bumper to bumper like that, you can see Brady LaBeouf trying to get around the 3, but you just can't. And that's the thing about passing, especially here at Vegas. You got to be careful. You don't want to be left alone because then you're just on your own and you got no one to really fight for that lead with. And so the other driver on the outside or inside, wherever you are, is just going to run away with that lead. And you can see, Josh, they're almost 3 wide coming across the start-finish line. So this is going to be an interesting turn going into this turn 1 and coming out of turn 2, but because you can see the top 3 just battling it out super hard right now, and you got a lot of drivers behind them really looking for that lead.
Cinnamon gets stuck on the outside line, ends up losing about 2 spots as Jose Luis Rivera taking his first laps at the front of the field in an NASRA Triple M Pulling Truck Series race. Take a look at that, lowest position 11th. That is where he started this race. He has currently gained 10 total spots now. It'll update as he comes across the line. There it goes, 10 total spots on the night. A great start for the number 97 machine, looking to continue this momentum through the middle portion of this race as we only put 8 laps behind us onto lap number 9 as LaBeouf now going to try and come back for that race lead. Leaders staying close together, battle further back as Dana Shepard looks to try and get around Stephen Thomas. Thomas on that outside line, Jordan, he's the current points leader by over 100 points. He's been consistent this season, but only 1 win to show for it. Currently sitting in P11 right now, lowest he has been all race long. It looks like struggling a bit in the 23 to get up through the pack. He's lost 2 spots from where he began.
And that's the thing, he's really stuck between everybody, so he can't really decide if he wants to go down to the inside because there's another car there. And so what I've noticed is we usually see him strolling in the back of the pack for the last few races that we've been, broadcasting, Josh. And it seems like he's been really strolling there, but then he ends up at least in the top 5 towards the end. So I'm curious to know if he's going to do that tonight. Maybe it's a strategy just to really feel out that 23 machine and how the track feels and how the tires are really cooperating with that 23 truck.
What is Stephen Thomas going to do to try and get back up through the field? That seems to be the golden question. But up front, look at Michael McKinnon trying to make something happen on that outside line. Haven't seen much of that yet this race. The outside line doesn't seem to be unusable, certainly, but it doesn't seem to be the best line possible. And, of course, as I say that, leader Jose Luis Rivera goes in the middle, continues to stay at the front of this field. But McKinnon with a little bit of a run on the outside, trying to work his way up to the battle for that race lead. And it looks like a little bit of an incident further back. I believe an issue with Logan Quinn and Bill Lester. Lester very slow in that number 95. We'll grab a quick look at the Racecraft TV replay, see what happened to the 12 of Bill Lester here. Oh, he did make contact with Logan Quinn. Both of them saved it. What a save from both of those drivers coming through turn 2. Looked like Lester came up into the 44. A little bit of contact there, Jordan, but look at this. They both save it. They're able to keep on going.
And that's the thing, too, when you're especially dodging that many cars in front of you and you're completely drifting your truck, it's really, really hard because you don't want to ruin anyone else's race. And you got everyone behind you really struggling because they want to know where you're going to go. So a great save for those 2 drivers, and they're going to continue racing to hopefully get to that win.
Continuing on here in the NASRA Triple M Pulling Truck Series, the City That Never Sleeps 250, nearing about halfway done with Stage 1 tonight. Stage 1 is 30 laps long, so we are nearing the end of this first stage. And Jose Luis Rivera leading the way. Battle for third here between LaBeouf and Chris Cinnamon there in the 9. They'll battle into turn number 1, and you can really group this entire top 7 now as one big battle as they all run in one sort of long train of cars around this racetrack, and you can see him speeding down the back straightaway back into turn number 3. Rivera doing a good job at holding off Michael McKinnon there in P2, but the big question is, How long is McKinnon willing to stay in that second spot? Look at Brady LaBeouf making another look, trying to get by Michael McKinnon in the 13. Could not find an open hole, Jordan, and he's going to have to stay in P3.
You know, definitely, and that's the thing. You really got to wait for your time to, are you going to pass or if you're just going to stay in there? And like you said before, he's really trying to feel out the 13 of, you know, Michael McKinnon, and that's the question too, because we don't know when the 13 is going to try and go for that lead, but we also got to hope that he doesn't wreck himself up, because when you go for the lead, especially here at Vegas, you never know what the track's going to throw at you. It could be different, and especially with these trucks, you could go completely sideways because maybe your tires, you've been using them a little too much. Yes, we're only 17 laps in, but you really never know what could happen, especially here at Vegas, because it's all unpredictable. But it seems like those two are running really well right now and are just trying to keep their spots. But Josh, I'm really thinking that by the end of this stage, these drivers are going to be bumper to bumper, and you never know what we're going to see.
Three-truck battle for fourth place here on the racetrack. Is Stephen Gregory going to go up, look for that outside line on Robbie Richards here. You can see him making that move up to the top side. The real question now is he going to be able to hold it up on that outside line? And that seems to be the main challenge as Cinnamon gets a little bit into the wall. That opens the door for Stephen Gregory. Right on around he goes, and he is going to now take over that fourth spot on the racetrack. But up in front, battle continues for the race lead. Jose Luis Rivera has it currently. A little bit of a closer battle further back. It is side by side, and poking that nose in there is Taylor Peacock on Dustin Scruggs. To the outside line goes Stephen Thomas. He's going to look for that outside line on Taylor Peacock, and Jacob Klinkart in the 42 watching all of it happen. You're on board with the 42 now, as going to the outside line is the 23, the 43, Dana Shepard also running up there. Looks like that outside line seems to be working a little bit now, as Chris Cinnamon tries to use it to get around Robbie Richards. Could not do it as he went just a little bit too high there, Jordan. There's a difference between the outside line and running up in the marbles right by the wall. You can run in the middle line relatively smoothly, but once you get any higher than that, you're going to be asking to go off pace, and battle for seconds now really heated up as Brady LaBeouf goes to the bottom.
And that's the thing, you really got to make sure you know what you're doing when you're going into the turns. And so if you make your decision lastly to possibly drop down to the inside, if you're on the top side when you're coming off the backstretch or wherever you are on the track, you really got to make sure you can make that car stick to that bottom line and really hope that your truck sticks to the ground, because both parts of this track, both inside and outside, are so different when it comes to especially Las Vegas, because that outside wall always seems to be that magnet that just wants to pull you in closer and closer and just completely run your truck into the wall. So you really got to be careful depending on which line you choose and how long you run it for.
Closing in on the end of stage number 1. The stage end will come at lap 30 tonight. So once Jose Luis Rivera comes across the line here, we are going to be looking at just shy of 8 to go here in the first stage of the night. Expecting a whole host of drivers to come into the pit lane as we update this battle for second. LaBeouf now trying to look to the outside line to possibly get around. Doesn't seem to be working. He'll drop back to the bottom and look for the spot on McKinnon. The 9 truck's gonna take it for the moment, slide up the racetrack. A little bit of door banging in between these two. They touch again as they go into the tri-oval. McKinnon's gonna keep that spot, but a little bit of contact to LaBeouf. That's gonna send LaBeouf off pace a little bit. Now here comes Stephen Gregory. The 61 is now up in this fight, Jordan. That just goes to show just even the slightest bit of contact can knock the driver down a peg, and now LaBeouf's gonna have to fight to hold on to this top 3.
And you can see the 61 is so fast. He's on the bumper of Brady LaBeouf right now. So LaBeouf's just got to keep that car rolling straight and make sure he doesn't make any more contact, because we just saw with the littlest amount of time he made contact with the 13 of how much time he lost too, which put him to the front grille of the 61 machine. So he's got to keep it relatively clean. Yes, it's hard to keep it stuck to the bottom, but you know, you definitely got to be careful because he does not want to lose time like that again, or else he could drop down the order and completely ruin his chance.
Battle for second continues. You can see Gregory closing in on Brady LeBoff for that spot. 3 trucks all battling for second place now as we go to 5 laps to go here in stage number 1. Falling back a little bit now is going to be the 61 machine. So is the 9 as well. Everybody in this front battle now starting to space their way out. But up front is still Jose Luis Rivera with that spot. Battle further back now between Joey Doucette, Dustin Scruggs, and Steven Thomas. And throw Taylor Peacock in the 81 into that list as well. 4 trucks going battling now through the turn number 1 here at Las Vegas. Can Scruggs get around Joey Doucette for that 8th position on the racetrack? Remember, Taylor Peacock is going for stage points here. Stage points are only given to the top 10. Taylor Peacock currently sits P11. Needs to get around Steven Thomas for stage points. And Jordan, those stage points can be ever so important, especially in a points championship like this one where we're going to take the top 16 for the playoffs, but wins do not matter. It is not win and you're in. It is just being in the top 16 in points. So consistency is going to pay off and stage points will add up.
And, you know, definitely for the 81 of Peacock, it's a lot of pressure because, you know, like you mentioned, walking away with stage points is the way to get the most points, obviously. But like I said, it's so much pressure because you just want to really make sure you're up in that top 10 and really lock yourself in. So the 81's got to make a move on the 23 if he really wants those stage points. But we're seeing a good battle right now. The 13 and the 9 going head-to-head for P number 2 right now. But you can see, Josh, the 97 of Rivera seemed to run away with that lead. So he's having a relatively good start to this race here tonight.
Coming to the white flag in stage number 1. And at the head of the field, it is Jose Luis Rivera in the 97. Final lap of stage number 1 from virtual Las Vegas. And what a drive for Jose Luis Rivera in the number 97. Looking for more success. He started the series a bit late, but since then has definitely not had the luck that he has looked for, and hopefully this is the start of some good luck tonight as through the final corner onto the front straightaway, your stage 1 winner is Jose Luis Rivera in the number 97 machine. So caution flag is called. Your stage winner, there he is, the number 97 of Jose Luis Rivera. A great run for the number 97 here in stage number 1. We'll take a short break here on Racecraft TV, but don't go anywhere. When we come back, updates from pit road and the restart of stage number 2 here for the NASRA Triple M Pulling Truck Series live on Racecraft TV. Welcome back to the NASRA Triple M Pulling Truck Series. You're tuning in to live coverage on Racecraft TV. Joshua Lee here with you in the booth alongside Jordan Hicks. And Jordan, stage one over and done. Jose Luis Rivera, the top dog when it came to that first stage, and gets out of pit road first as well. So he's going to lead the field back to green. Definitely think he currently has the truck to beat as we go one to go. Lights out on the pace truck.
And, you know, definitely a great start for the 97. He's just got to keep up that momentum to hopefully, Josh, walk out with that Stage 2 victory, and then not trying to think out of the box here, but maybe walk away with that win, because we saw him on those last few laps. He was starting to really run away with that lead ahead of these very fast competitors behind him. And so I'm really looking forward to see how the 97 machine does it, and will he walk away in the winner's circle.
We have seen a couple of times that the stage winners did correlate with our race winners. We'll see if that holds true tonight as we continue to race through the city that never sleeps 250 here from virtual Las Vegas. Always great times in Vegas, and always great motorsports events that have crossed through Las Vegas, and NASCAR is one of them here at the Las Vegas Motor Speedway. Ready to go back racing on the virtual side here at iRacing's virtual Las Vegas. Base truck off of turn number 4. And the field is in the hands of the number 97 of Jose Luis Rivera. He goes back to the loud pedal, and stage number 2 is underway from Las Vegas. Great start on the bottom line, and Rivera going to try and hold off McKinnon and LaBeouf heading into turn 1. It is going to be successful as he now blocks that bottom line. LaBeouf following on that inside, as McKinnon going to look to the outside line. He's got help from Stephen Gregory on that outside. Still relatively 2x2 as they go battling for the lead in 3. Going for the lead is Brady LaBeouf, and he's going to take it off 4. That was a beautiful move made by the 9 there, Jordan.
And, you know, definitely had some assistance from the 48 of Robbie Richards, so if he can keep that up, they can maybe walk away and make sure they 100% clear the 97, because, Josh, we've seen before, Jose Luis Rivera in the 97 machine is not one to give up, so he'll be right there with you this whole race, and he'll continue to battle for that lead.
Spinner in the back, Brandon Bullock in the 17, no caution, still side by side for the race lead as Rivera tries to get back that lead on the outside line. Can he do it? LaBeouf holding strong on the bottom, still side by side as they come across the start finish line. Advantage to LaBeouf as he is currently holding off Jose Luis Rivera loose on the bottom. You can see the bumps in turn 1, getting just a little bit too loose, but they're still side by side for this race lead. What is Robbie Richards going to do? It looked like he wanted to try and take it 3 wide, advised against it as they go back through turn 3. Rivera trying that outside line. It looks like it fizzles out a little bit middle of the corner, but straightaways, Rivera is able to hold up with Brady LaBeouf. He tried to cover off the spot, but the 9 truck could not do it. Still a 2 truck battle for the lead. More contact as they go through 1. They roar to the back straightaway. Still on that outside line is Rivera trying all he can to get around the 9. Robbie Richards joining this fray is going to make things interesting here, Jordan, because he's turned a 2-truck race into a 3-truck race as the 2 leaders collide.
And, you know, definitely that's a really rough scene right there. If you and the leader, or if you're P1 and P2, if you guys are making contact, you know, it scares everyone else because they don't really know which line to take, and they really don't want to be causing that wreck. And so with these 2 making contact, they're really showing that they really want that lead. You can see the 97 diving to the bottom. A lot of these drivers have help from both drivers behind, but you can see the 97 just powering through on the inside, and the 9 is going to remain on the bumper. So I'm curious to know what's going to happen, because the 9 is still right there, Josh, but going into 1, it seems like the 97 is going to have the lead so far.
Barely able to cut off that 9 machine. LaBeouf now going to have to regroup from P2. Up and off of the corner they go to the back straightaway. Michael McKinnon back into P3. What's the 13 gonna add to this battle for the race lead? LaBeouf stays in P2. Rivera trying to pull away at the front, but with these trucks and the amount of horsepower they have and the spoilers on the back, becomes very difficult to pull away at the front of the field. So going into this corner, you can see LaBeouf is still inches away. McKinnon is still inches away. And as they race off of turn 2, Rivera needs to try and keep that 9 truck behind him. We mentioned it, Jordan. Stage 1 winner in Jose Luis Rivera possibly has that truck to beat. Definitely seems to be one of the favorites in this race to get the win. But with all that said, the 9 of Brady LaBeouf is keeping up. Same thing with Michael McKinnon there. And I'd even throw Robbie Richards and Chris Cinnamon into that mix as well, who can race up at the front. We're seeing it right here.
And you know, definitely a lot of fast competitors, all bumper to bumper right now, but it's all what the 97 does, because he's just got to fight off all of them, and if he wants to remain in that lead, like I said, he's just got to really remain calm. There's a lot of pressure on him right now because he wants to remain in that lead, but you can see the 9 really trying to make something worth, trying to power on the outside. You can see the 13 of McKinnon trying to get up to both of the 97 and the 9, but it just seems like the 97, Josh, is running the faster line here tonight, and just completely remaining consistent and just keeping that truck straight.
Battle for the lead within 1/10 right now. LaBeouf behind Jose Luis Rivera at the front of the field. And LaBeouf looks like he's not going to go for any brash moves at the front of this field. The only times that he has been looking to even possibly make that move has been to the outside line. He does not want to try and make a diving pass to the inside, because I think him out of anybody, for those who don't know, he is one of the admins of this league. So Brady LaBeouf knows out of anybody how to race clean, and he knows what not to do. And I do think, Jordan, that LaBeouf sort of knows if he goes for a move down to the bottom of the racetrack, that could lead to an incident. And I think it's the last thing that he wants right here, because I think secretly he's enjoying the battle at the front, but he also does not want to take himself or Jose Luis Rivera out. But he gets loose going into one on the outside line, has to chase the truck up the track. He's going to fall to P4.
And like you were saying, Josh, it's, you know, when you're usually battling for the lead, you got so many good battles you can take, and it's sort of better because you don't want to just be running in the front with nothing in front of you, because you just have really nothing to do other than fight off the guys behind you. And so really fighting for that lead is mainly your entertainment zone for a long race like this at Vegas. And so a whole lot of entertainment for these drivers, and you can see a whole lot of position changes for this top 5 right now. And so a great race so far as for stage 2, and so really looking forward to see how these drivers really come out of this one, and they're really racing away right now.
I can tell you what, I think anybody at the front of this field who is not entertained right now is Jose Luis Rivera, because he cannot get away from the drivers behind him. We go to 14 laps to go here in stage number 2. As the field dives back into turn number 1, it's Jose Luis Rivera at the front of the field, Michael McKinnon, Robbie Richards, Brady LaBeouf, Chris Cinnamon. Your top 5, as we'll go on board for a moment here with Chris Cinnamon, because Cinnamon has a front row seat for everything right now at the front of this field, and Cinnamon just trying to keep up with this lead group and also looking to become a part of one of these battles here soon. But currently front of the field is fairly occupied by a lot of fast race trucks, and Brady LaBeouf, even though he fell to P4, now back up into the realm of the battle for the lead. Big question is, will LaBeouf really just be able to battle at the front of this field now as he catches up to Robbie Richards? Can he try and pick him off and get up into P3? Jordan, as they run through this run, everybody got fresh tires under that caution, so everybody not dealing with tire wear really just yet. But as we go into roughly about 15 laps gone, or at least a little bit more than that, here in the stage, they will start to feel a little bit of the effects, especially if they've been pushing hard, and I think these drivers at the front definitely have been.
And you know, definitely, like you said, these drivers are really showing what they want to show here at Vegas. And you know, they're running really, really well right now, but like you were mentioning, that tire wear, because, you know, it can just come in the matter of a lap, and so you really can't expect it, because you could be running solid lap times one time and feeling A-okay, but then the next lap by, you just feel absolutely out of place, and the car just completely, or the truck I should say, just completely feels so much different. So going into that third and final stage, I really think that may be the big effect on these drivers, because if there's no cautions, there's most likely going to be green flag pit stops. And so I'm really curious to know how these drivers are really going to battle that, because used tires, very used tires on this track can really involve with you pushing your wheel to the limit to try and make that truck rotate.
Still working our way farther and farther down in this stage. And as they continue to work through, and Rivera continuing to lead, a great night so far for the number 97 machine. And you can see at 39 make that 40 laps led here in this race. I definitely think he is the favorite right now, but can't put too much money on it because there still is a ton of time left in this race. But we know Jordan Jose has been working very, very hard when it comes to this series and perfecting his racecraft and getting those trucks fast. And if he does get the win here from Vegas, definitely I don't think it will be hyperbole to say that it is going to be a huge celebration in the 97 pit tonight, because, you know, he worked so hard and he's been wanting success here in this series, has taken a lot of his mistakes to heart and looking for his first win of the season tonight. And don't want to give him a commentator's curse, but he definitely is looking stout at the front of the field, and it is going to be one of those favorites come stage 3.
And, you know, he's running really, really consistent right now. All he's got to do for the next, we're on lap 53 of 134. He's got a bit to go, but like there's those stage breaks, he's got some time to really think what he wants to do, think of a game plan on how he wants to achieve that. And Josh, I really, really think he's going to be able to keep his mindset. Yes, it's a lot of pressure. He's been at the lead pretty much this whole entire race, but by the looks of it right now, I really think he can get it done here tonight at Las Vegas for stage 2, and really hoping he can walk away with it in the final stage.
It'll be 6 to go in the second stage of the night here from virtual Las Vegas. Battle at the front has fizzled its way out, and we can go back a little bit. Battle for 5th. Chris Cinnamon versus Devin Painter, the 3 versus the 64. As they exit their way to the max straightaway. Devin Painter, another one of those drivers yet to find victory lane this season, but in terms of great runs this season, has had a good amount of them and has had some pretty fast trucks. Still just has not been able to put together a full race. Jordan hasn't gotten that first win of the season. Definitely know that 64 is also one of the drivers in this field who is hungry for a race win. And I think same thing with Michael McKinnon in the 13. I mean, another one of those drivers who we talk about a lot as one of the faster drivers in the field, still has just yet to get a win this season. Even though we have put 9 rounds behind us, we only have 5 different winners in this series. Still a lot of fast drivers yet to find victory lane.
You know, definitely, there's, like you said, there's so many other drivers out here tonight that their trucks just don't seem to really push the way they want them to. And so I'm going to bring this up really quick. We saw Devin Painter, like we were talking about a few seconds ago, in the 64 machine. We saw him at Darlington State take the stage 1 and 2 victory, and that truck didn't want to cooperate with him on that final stage, which didn't give him the win. Yes, it gave him a handful of points, but you know, if you really win stage 1 and 2, you really want to walk away with that stage 3. So like we're talking about, there's so many more drivers that want to win tonight, but there's been back-to-backs and there's been only one solo. So it's really interesting to see who wins in this series, and curious to know who's going to walk away with this one tonight.
It'll be 2 to go in the stage, this time by. Update on Stephen Thomas. He's currently trying to get around Bill Lester in the number 95 machine. battling for P14. Definitely not the best day for Stephen Thomas, and you can see as we look off the back of Bill Lester, little bit of front end damage on the 23 of Stephen Thomas. Jordan, if he has some engine damage or anything of that nature, this is going to be a long and tough race for the 23 of Stephen Thomas, and we should mention he is the points leader coming into tonight, so that could spell a little bit of issues for him in the points. We could see some new faces at the front as Jose Luis Rivera takes the white flag here in the stage.
And you know, that's what I've really noticed about Stephen Thomas. He's always, I don't think it's really his fault, but he seems to always be having problems at that first start of the race. And yes, he could have some engine problems, which is going to roughen that truck up, but we usually see him in the top of the pack by the end of the third stage. And so I'm looking forward to see what he does, because he usually makes it happen. He usually makes that 23 machine really want to rotate throughout those turns, and he's had some really tough tracks on this series already. So yes, this is a tough one, but I really think he's going to be able to push it through, and you can see the 97 of Jose Luis Rivera taking home the stage 2 victory here at Las Vegas.
2 for 2 tonight in the stages. Jose Luis Rivera is going to walk away with the stage victory. Short break here on Racecraft TV. We'll be right back with pit road updates. Who took what amount of tires? What are the interesting strategies in the race? Plus the restart heading into the longest stage of the night, stage number 3. You're tuning into live coverage of the NASRA Triple M Pulling Truck Series live on Racecraft TV. Don't go anywhere.
Travis Pastrana here. iRacing, Climbing the Clouds, Mount Washington Hill Climb available now. Check it out.
Welcome back to live coverage of the NASRA Triple M Pulling Truck Series live on Racecraft TV. Joshua Lee, Jordan Hicks back with you here in the broadcast booth, and during the pit stop, still the same man at the front of the field. Jose Luis Rivera in the number 97. A great pit stop from him. Keeps him at the front of the field and keeps him as the truck to beat tonight, as he has been on fire since the drop of the green flag. Stage 1 win, stage 2 win, and looking for the stage 3 and race win. Jordan, going to be huge for him if he can get it, but he still has a ton of fast drivers behind him. Michael McKinnon, Brady LaBeouf, Chris Cinnamon, and Robbie Richards rounding out that top 5.
And this is what we've been talking about this whole race. The final stage, which is going to be the longest these drivers are going to be running on this track without a stage break. And so the 97's really got to think of a plan on how he's going to make that truck rotate, because these tires, yes, they got fresh ones, but they're going to wear off with Usually, I would say it's about maybe 20 to 30 laps in, and so he's just got to really make sure he knows how that 97 machine's going to run. And Josh, I'm really looking forward to see if he's going to walk away into victory lane. But like you said, a lot of fast drivers behind him, so he's got to fight off a huge amount of drivers in order to take that win.
One to go here in the stage number 2 break. We're going green into stage number 3. Now we will have about 70 laps to go, which means these drivers will need to pit at least once. And the big question is, will anybody cut it in half, or will they try and stretch the fuel tanks as long as they possibly can? The entire field still has one set of tires left in the pit lane. Big question is, when will they use that final set? Are they going to cut the stage in half, or will they go with a strategy that brings them to roughly about 10 laps to go before coming into the pit lane and getting the final set of tires plus 2 full cans of Sunoco fuel? We'll see who chooses what strategy as we go back to racing here in stage 3. And we will let you hear the sights and sounds of the Las Vegas Motor Speedway, virtually, of course, here in iRacing with Racecraft TV. Sounds of Speed. Stage 3 is underway from virtual Las Vegas. Jose Luis Rivera brings them to green. Rivera able to keep the lead here from virtual Las Vegas. That 97 machine is currently on fire at the front of the field and continuing just to try and hold on, Jordan. But similar to what we've seen at the start of each run, he has the number 9 machine of Brady LaBeouf breathing down his neck. This is going to get interesting here in the next couple of laps, because we've seen Brady LaBeouf be able to get by the 97 a couple of times, or at least attempts to. But the real question is, can he get around him and stay around him? He hasn't been able to do that at all tonight.
You know, because it's just because the 97 is always right there. And like I said this at stage number 1, you can pass the 97, but he's going to be right there, no matter if it's on your inside or your outside, or maybe even on the back of your bumper. So if you're going to pass Rivera, he's really going to still be there. So if you clear him, you got to really fight him off, because with winning this first 2 stages of the night, he's on fire tonight, and he's really looking for that win. But the 9 of Brady LaBeouf is trying to take it over and walk into victory lane, but he's got a tough competitor, which is the 97 in front of him, if he wants to make anything happen.
That is the big question right now, is can the 9 car get around the 97 and take that lead? Joey Doucette is around. No caution on the racetrack, but damage for that number 16 machine of Joey Doucette. Let's take a look at the Racecraft TV replay, as it looks like maybe a single truck or a 2-truck incident. No contact with Bill Lester, gets sent around in turn 3. Logan Quinn swerves to avoid it, and Eric Zimmerman also has to go off track as well. But another one of these close incidents, Jordan. Not enough to bring out a caution, but definitely enough to just sort of rattle anybody involved and give the 16 a good bit of damage there in the process.
And definitely that happens so unexpectedly, so you really got to be on your A game, especially here at Vegas, because the wrecks can happen within seconds. And if there's a wreck on the track, there's really nowhere to go unless you completely drop all the way to the bottom, which is really hard because you usually got trucks beside you or either on your inside or your outside. And so you got to be careful how you're going to do it. But just with wrecks being pretty common here, actually, at Vegas, you got to be careful on the way you get around them so you keep your car looking really, really fresh to keep on holding your spot that you're in, just like the 97 is right now.
And they race back down the back straightaway and offer into turn number 3, and past halfway now in this race, lap 73. And as you take a look at our scoring box, 62 laps to go, and Rivera goes all the way down to the apron, making sure to protect on Brady LaBeouf. And we're going to be talking here in the next roughly about 20 laps or so, 25 maybe, about pit stops, and expecting to see a good amount of trucks hit the pit lane halfway through this stage. But always interesting to see what happens. I think Dustin Scruggs was like on the edge of the pit window and was able to make it all the way through stage 3 without having to pit. Jordan, do you see anybody doing that tonight? Because they're gonna need to save roughly about 8 to 7 laps of fuel. That is a ton of fuel to save. Not even sure if it's entirely possible, but somebody could go for that wild card strategy. It worked for Dustin Scruggs. He got the win at Darlington.
And that's the thing too, it's all really just questions at this point, because you don't really know what you can do, so you really just got to trust your instinct. If you want to go that whole time without getting fuel or tires, you can go for it, but you never know what your truck's going to do, and you don't want to run out of fuel, because then you're just going to see everyone just slowly stroll on by, and then you're going to realize you're out of fuel and you completely messed up. So the smart decision would be to try and fit in a pit stop there. Yes, you may lose spots on the track. That depends on if there's a caution or not, but it's all really your instinct and how you feel, because if you want to go for that win, you got to go for it, because laps can go down really fast if you're really focusing that hard into this race.
But caution does come out during this stage, during the fuel window, where they'll be good to the end on fuel, which is going to come up here in about 3 laps. Once they reach 55 to go, no matter when they come in, it doesn't matter all the way to the end, they will be good unless we get, of course, an overtime finish. But the fuel window being 55 to 60 laps, they're coming up on that threshold. So if a caution comes out, expect everybody to come into the pit lane, grab that last set of tires, grab 2 cans of Sunoco fuel, and not touch pit lane for the rest of the night. 57 to go, as LaBeouf is all over the back bumper of Jose Luis Rivera, not letting that 97 get away. And the line forming back up, we saw it midway through stage number 2, and we are seeing it again here. About 6 to 7 trucks all lined up, straight line, bottom of 3 and 4, middle line through 1 and 2. Interesting to see just how different lines they are taking at either end of this racetrack, and nobody making a pass just yet, but they continue to fight at the front. Side by side, a little bit further back, Logan Quinn versus Jacob Klinkart. 2 damaged trucks, and Quinn's going to win that one. Steven Thomas is in a huge fight back here. Taylor Peacock's back here as well. Clint Mata is in this fray as they exit turn number 2. Interesting to see, roughly about 2 distinct packs on the racetrack right now as Peacock goes way up to the wall. Steven Thomas trying to get that spot on the bottom, but will do so. Almost comes up, makes contact with the 81, but now Stephen Gregory trying to fight back on the inside line. He is going to go even with Stephen Thomas in the 23, dives it back to the bottom line. Interesting to see right now, Jordan, just how these drivers are racing back here, because obviously they're racing for P10, but Stephen Thomas is racing for more points, get up to the front of that point standings even more. And you mentioned the rest of the drivers. Clint Mata currently in the point standings, doesn't even sit inside the top 10. Neither does the 81 of Taylor Peacock. He sits P9, barely inside of the top 10, tied with Jesse Schrage for 8th. These guys need points.
So bunched together because they're all just trying to get around each other and possibly even get back up to that leaders pack. And so you can see they've got a huge gap in between both of the two packs. And so what I may think they may do, Josh, is maybe all draft together. Yes, they're going to try and go around each other, but work their way to get to the bumper of that first gap. And you never know, they may even try and go for that lead with that whole entire pack they're with, because going for that lead would be very, very powerful because of how many cars they've got with them and how much of a strong draft they could create.
Fighting still for these spots and becoming increasingly important here as they continue to race through and back through turn 1. Jose Luis Rivera at the front of the field. No pressure right now, or I should say a bit of pressure, with Brady LaBeouf being about a little bit more than a tenth back, make that about 2/10. Main battle right now on the field is between these drivers as Stephen Gregory tries to power around the outside of Clint Mata in the 7. They fight back through the middle of the corner and back onto the front straightaway. Mata on the bottom of the racetrack now. Stephen Thomas on the outside. They'll go side by side for the moment. And racing back through the corner and onto the back straightaway. Stephen Thomas trying to hold off on that outside line, and I think it is a bit, I don't want to say strange, Jordan, to see him this far down, because it seems like he is having a relatively bad night. You can see the damage on the front end of that race truck. Just so unfortunate for Stephen Thomas to get that damage. I think he's suffering with some engine damage or maybe some aerodynamic damage in result of that front end damage on the race truck. So tough to see from Stephen Thomas, especially our points leader running back here outside of the top 10 and has a good fight ahead of him if he wants to get inside the top 10 tonight.
You know, definitely. And I will say, though, being 100 points ahead of second place in the current point standings, yes, it can be okay, but he really can't sit there for too long in many races to come, because he's just going to start losing that gap. And so yes, if there's damage, you can't really do anything about it, but you can see the 81 of Peacock just powering around on the inside. He's slowly falling back a little bit, but he seems to be keeping up with a lot of these drivers in the back, which is a smart thing to do by running in front of them so he can get a draft and make sure that 23 machine is running at about a fair speed to keep up with everybody else on the track.
Side by side as they race up and out of the corner, and Taylor Peacock able to get around Stephen Thomas, put the 23 back to P12. Battle for P5 right now. Devin Painter versus Kyle Hess. We go on board with the number 86 in this two-car battle for P5, and becoming increasingly difficult really to make passes here, Jordan. Yes, tires are starting to wear, but we also got to talk about how we're getting stuck into a long green flag run. Trucks are starting to space out. We mentioned how difficult it is to pull away, but once those tires start to wear, once we start to see more of a difference in overall speed with these trucks, they will start to spread out, and seems to be exactly what we're seeing with these front guys. Jose Luis Rivera has put a decent gap, about 4/10 over Brady LaBeouf. LaBeouf with more pressure from Richards and McKinnon behind than he's giving to Jose Luis Rivera at the front of this field.
You know, definitely this is what the 97 needs right now. He's got a little bit to go. He's still got about over 40 laps to go, and so he's doing what it seems like he wants to, because we saw this in the first stage. He ran away with that lead and just completely shredded stage number 1. Yes, he had a few cars behind him in stage number 2, but he's been on a really he's been on his A game this whole entire night, and he's just got to keep it up for that next set of few laps, because he's got a long way to go, like I mentioned before, but he just can't really focus on that. He's got to focus on the line he's running and walk out of this racetrack within the position he wants, which is definitely what it seems like, P1 right now.
Battle for second definitely starting to heat up as Robbie Richards goes roughly about right to the back bumper of Brady LaBeouf. They continue to try and race their way through the field currently, and looking like LaBeouf is still relatively fast and trying to keep holding on to P2, but as you see Robbie Richards go to the bottom, looks like over these long runs, Jordan, that 9 truck just can't keep up. Short run, he is right there contending for the lead, but we're seeing the same thing we've been seeing from Brady LaBeouf for pretty much the entire night when it comes to the long run. Starts to lose it on about this time, and definitely starting to see that as Michael McKinnon goes right to the back bumper.
And that's the thing you don't want, because he runs so consistently throughout the whole entire night, and your truck just completely gives up on you a little bit, and so not 100% gives up on you. You seem to really get out of the groove, is a better word to put it, and so it's definitely heartbreaking to see for the 9. Yes, he's in P3 right now, so it's not too bad, but he's got a fast competitor behind him, the 13 of McKinnon, and so if he wants to stay in that top 3, he's got to fight him off, but he's trying to get back into that groove of running those fast lap times. We saw him in P2, Josh. He was running on the bumper of the 97, but he's been falling off that pace a little bit as the 48 got by him, so he's just got to hold off the 13 of McKinnon if he wants to stay in P3.
And side by side, 2 lapped machines in front of the 97 right now, or sorry, 1 lap machine as they went side by side. That is holding up the 97. Battle for the lead is upon us. Here comes Robbie Richards, forcing his way to the bottom. Can we see a lead change? Yes, we will. And around for the race lead goes Robbie Richards. Now the 97 of Jose Luis Rivera fighting back on the bottom. Gets a little bit loose through the middle of the tri-oval. They continue to try and fight through turns 1 and 2. Now the lap machine being used as a pick by Jose Luis Rivera to keep the 48 in bay. Down the back straightaway, side by side for the lead. Trying to block him is Robbie Richards. That's going to force the 97 into P2. Richards going to keep the lead, and as they race off for the final corner, still trying to get around the 16 of Brandon Bullock, but Rivera's going to have to settle for P2. Now trying to keep the 9 at bay, Jordan.
There's a lot of action happening right now. The 48 making his way around the 97, but like I've been talking about this whole night, the 97's always there. He's fallen back a little bit, which may be a strategy to save his tires a little bit. I'm not too sure, but we saw previously he was using that lap car as his advantage to block off the 48. Now the 9 of Brady LaBeouf is following behind him, trying to make a move on him, because we haven't seen the 9 ahead of the 97 in a while, and so this may be the time where the 9 can get up into P2 again and maybe fight for that lead.
Can he get back to that point and get back to fighting? Rivera hasn't really been in traffic tonight. He got the lead back in the middle of stage number 1. Hasn't let it go since. This is the first time in this race since stage 1 that we have seen a different driver lead at the front of the field since that first stage. So interesting to see, to say the least, but definitely am now wondering, does Rivera have the speed in the dirty air to get back around the 48 of Robbie Richards? You're on board with that 97 machine now as he settles for P2 for the moment, but only 4/10 separating the two, Jordan. I think the 97 has a good opportunity to try and catch up to the 48, especially if they reach more lap traffic, which I believe they are getting ready to do.
And you know, Josh, this is going to be interesting, because if the 43 walks away with tonight's win, he will be the first driver to walk away with 3 wins on the season. And so it'll be interesting, because we've seen Robbie Richards win before, and so he's really looking at that chance at victory lane tonight. But like you were talking about, the 97 of Rivera, he just needs to keep his lines really, really consistent to really get up to the back bumper of that 48. We've got about 36 laps to go, about 35 laps to go at the line, I believe. But you can just see the 97 trying to use that 17 car as a draft to try and make his way up to the 48, but it just doesn't seem like it's working as he's being pushed up to the mid part of that track, which has been his line actually this whole night, and so he's just really trying to make it work. But you can see the 9 coming onto the back of him trying to make a pass possibly for P2.
And we get word over the iRacing voice chat. Brady LaBeouf is pitting. Here comes Robbie Richards in as well. This is green flag pit stops halfway through the stage. This is going to change everything. So Richards is in for his pit stop. Rivera stays out. How long is Rivera going to stay out is the big question. Everybody from Richards on down is all into the pit lane. So in comes Richards, in comes LaBeouf and more. Here comes Jose Luis Rivera. He's going to come into the pit lane. Devin Painter will assume the lead. Exiting the pit lane is the former race leader, the 48, Robbie Richards. He's just now exiting the pit lane. Rivera just now entering. How is this going to work out? Remember, Richards did not go a lap down. New leader, Devin Painter. He leads into turn 3. Big question is, what is going to happen with Jose Luis Rivera as he currently is in his pit stall? I believe he had to might have back up out of his pit stall. We'll have to get a replay of that, but looking to come across the line as the race leader, dropping positions. Here comes Robbie Richards, and he is going to take the net lead away from Jose Luis Rivera. Rivera's going to fall even more spots. He did flub on pit road. He falls down to provisionally, I believe, 8th place, Jordan. Disaster for the 97 in the pit lane.
And you can just see how fast your race could change there. I don't want to say it was a commentator's curse because I've been talking about wanting him to go to victory lane all night long, but it just seems like everything went wrong when he wanted to pit at that one time, and so it really seemed to mess him up a lot. And like I think we saw, he had to reverse, Josh. I'm not too sure, but
here's the replay.
Disastrous pit stop for the 97 team and driver of Jose Luis Rivera.
Right there, he had to reverse out of his pit stall and go back into it right here. This is all lost time on pit road for the 97. Absolute disaster and heartbreak for the 97 team. And that has got to feel awful for Jose Luis Rivera. He's been working so hard to get the race wins. Tonight, it wasn't meant to be. That struggle on pit road is going to, unfortunately, it looks like, lead to his demise unless we get a caution. 30 to go. Chris Cinnamon staying out on the racetrack currently. First driver who has pitted. We can take a look on our timing tower. It is Robbie Richards, so he has the provisional lead back here in P8. Currently 1 lap down as Chris Cinnamon, Stephen Gregory, Clint Mata, Taylor Peacock, Eric Zimmerman, Jacob Klinkart, and Joey Doucette have still yet to pit. This is a battle for the provisional lead right now as LaBeouf is going to look to the inside, grabbing the new provisional lead. Let's put the 9 of Brady LaBeouf up to the point. Here comes Richards with a crossover, side by side across the line. And Jordan, even though they're not racing for the lead right now on track, once everybody pits in front of him, these will be the 2 leaders at the front of the field. So they are essentially fighting for the win here as they stay side by side on the back.
And that's the thing, it could be a little confusing because it may say they're somewhere down the order when they're really just fighting for that lead. And it seems like the 3 of Chris Cinnamon may be pitting next time by or very soon, because you can see he just let them right on by as it said he was our leader on the timing tower. And so that's all I can get from that if he's letting them by. But, you know, definitely it's a really big of a battle to the end right now because we only got 28 to go, 27 to go at the line. And, you know, just a crazy last few laps here at Las Vegas. Everything is heating up to go right on into victory lane for whoever walks away victorious tonight.
They come back across the start-finish line, still side by side as more drivers come into the pit lane in front of him. Clint Mata, your current race leader, grabbing their laps back were Richards, LaBeouf, Klinkart, McKinnon, and more. Klinkart is yet to pit as well. He is sitting currently P5 as drivers continue to pass him. There's your leader, Clint Mata. Everybody in the top 8 currently are back on to the lead lap. Klinkart pits this time. I believe he is coming into the pit lane. Yes, he is. So is Joey Doucette in the 16. So that leaves now just Clint Mata, who has yet to pit. These drivers are still side by side. The 9 of LaBeouf outside, the 48 of Richards inside. Richards has to settle for P4 for the, or P3, excuse me, for the moment. He surrenders to Brady LaBeouf. Now the big question is, when is Clint Mata gonna pit? When is this race for the lead going to become the race for the lead? Right now it's the race for P2. Is Mata pitting this time? No, he is not. Stays on the racetrack. Goes from 26 to 25 to go. It looks like he's trying the long run strategy here as LaBeouf and Richards continue to stay bumper to bumper down the back straightaway. And this could lead to some interesting stuff as Stephen Gregory is slow on the racetrack. We'll grab a really quick Racecraft TV replay of what happened to the number 61 machine. Will look like an incident coming off of the tri-oval here, Jordan.
You can see he's completely sideways going into the wall, it seems like. And not too sure, we're taking another look. He makes contact with the 43 and just up into that wall. He made contact with Dana Shepard, and so not what that driver of Stephen Gregory wanted here tonight, as it's a big disappointment because now it's going to put some damage on that machine and potentially cause some aero damage to make that car not want to run at 110%.
Clint Mata pits. The leader goes back to Brady LaBeouf in the 9. Robbie Richards in P2. Now, what exactly is at stake here? Brady LaBeouf is still looking for his first win of the season here in the NASRA Triple M Pulling Truck Series. Robbie Richards is looking for his third win of the season. Robbie Richards trying to continue his winning ways. Brady LaBeouf is trying to get there for the first time. Battle for P3 really is non-existent, but Jordan, that 13 is starting to catch these race leaders. It's an interval of about 8/10 right now, so he's looking to try and race up with these front guys. You can see Logan Quinn separating them, but here comes the 13. McKinnon could throw a wrench in this battle at the front.
And you know, we saw him at the start of this, at the bigger part of this pack earlier, and yes, when all those pit stops happened, it changed up the whole entire order. So he was definitely one of the fast drivers in that top 3 before, but now he's coming blazing fast behind both the 9 of LaBeouf and the 48 of Richards. So Josh, we never know, we might see a lead change from the 13 of McKinnon. Not trying to call anything because it seems like we've had a commentator curse already by me tonight for the 97 of Rivera, but you never know what could happen because it's Las Vegas and these drivers are really going for it here tonight.
I think it's safe to say that these drivers are putting it all on the table and going all in with their bets here. Sorry, I had to bring it up. It is Las Vegas. But with 21 to go, laps continuing to tick down. Now they are reaching up to a bit of lapped vehicles. That could also throw a pretty big wrench into things. Clint Mata was the race leader, falls to P12 after he was forced to come into the pit lane. Still fighting here in these top 2 spots. It is LaBeouf and Richards. McKinnon falling off a little bit for the moment, but these lap machines could start to hold up these leaders. First one they reach is the number 17 of Brandon Bullock. 20 to go. They'll try and force their way around Bullock for that spot. As they run the middle line, force Bullock all the way up to the wall, and LaBeouf runs the bottom, goes right on around, and so will Robbie Richards. Not a whole bunch of holding up there from the 17 of Bullock, and McKinnon gonna have to hope that the 2 other drivers in front of these 2 will be more of a hold up, as driver in front is Cody Knott, currently 14th on the racetrack and currently battling with the number 95 of Bill Lester for P13. These leaders are definitely going to have something to say about this battle here soon, as they are starting to catch up to them down the back straightaway, and they are still continuing to fight as Brandon Bullock forced to pull off the racetrack. Looks like an incident for the 17. We'll stay with this battle for the lead for the moment, Jordan, as they are catching these lap machines. This is going to affect this battle.
And you know, we saw previously how these lap machines really can affect the leaders, especially because the leaders are just trying to get around and really run their race to fight to take home that win. So with these lap cars being in front of them, it could be a whole different story. This could be an open door for the 13 of McKinnon to catch up, because you never know how long both P1 and 2 are going to be held up behind these cars, and you never know what could really happen, because they may get in each other's way and completely cause a wreck. Not trying to call anything, but that's just what can happen with lap cars, especially here in the trucks, because you know, there's not all really that much room to see where everybody is, so you really got to just trust your spotter and really hope that they can see exactly where they are and really run away by them so you don't get caught up in an incident.
We'll come to the line with 16 to go, and this is when things are going to get incredibly interesting. Because as we go into the last couple of laps of this race, how desperate is Robbie Richards going to get? And remember, we have been caution-free tonight, not to put a jinx on anything, but a caution would throw a gigantic wrench into the plans of everybody. Remember, 3 sets of tires in the pit lane for these drivers. Everybody at the front of this field and everybody all the way down to P15 has pitted 3 times, 4 tires each time. So no tires remain in the pit lane. So if we do see a late restart, nobody will be on fresh tires, and everybody will be fighting for last minute positions. 15 laps to go here in stage number 3. And the action is just starting to heat up, especially here at the front. Small battle a little bit further back here. Dustin Scruggs, even after a bit of struggles early on in this race, Jordan found himself back up into P4, started on the pole, went down to, as you can see, all the way down to 21st at one point, back up into the top 5 spots. A good run from Dustin Scruggs tonight, trying to salvage what was a bad night throughout the start of stage 1.
And, you know, definitely really solid for him, because now, Josh, he's going to get stage points for this final stage, and it's not going to be him just having to worry about the whole race if he's going to make it into that top 10. So he's into that top 4. All he's got to do, Josh, is really make up that time, and he could be bumper to bumper. You never know what could happen. He could help out the 13 of McKinnon if he gets close enough, and maybe those two can draft up to P1 and P2, and you never know, they could go side by side for that lead and could completely change everything with 13 to go.
LaBeouf and Richards still fighting at the front, and like Jordan mentioned, 13 laps to go. The time is winding down for these drivers here in the city that never sleeps. 250 from Vegas, and I believe another issue for Brandon Bullock is you believe he might have touched the wall. We won't give you a replay of that one, as the battle for the lead continues to stay heated up as they continue to swap back and forth in terms of lanes. Here comes Richards to the bottom. Another block thrown by Brady LaBeouf. Aggression is starting to come out from these front 2, Jordan. They both want to get this win. I feel like LaBeouf might want to get this win more than the 48, solely because winless this season, this would be huge for the 9 in terms of confidence for the season.
And you know, it'd be another winner for the series, because we've had all pretty much the same winners other than Stephen Thomas. So it'd be really cool to see Brady LaBeouf into victory lane, because earlier tonight we saw him fighting for that lead from Jose Luis Rivera in the 97 machine. He couldn't get around. If he did, the 97 would be right on his bumper and take it back over again. So I would say, Josh, this is a great comeback for the 9. He's just got to hold up for the next 11 laps to go here at Las Vegas. 10 to go now. He's just got to hold off that 48 machine of Robbie Richards, because he is blazing on his bumper, trying to take over that lead from the 9.
The 9 trying to get around the 95 of Bill Lester. You can see just how difficult it is for this 9 truck to try and get around. Remember, they don't need to surrender. Just don't wreck those leaders. Bill Lester not letting him go that easy. Richards now trying to find a way around. He's going to follow LaBeouf on the bottom line to try and also get around this lap machine. And down to the bottom goes now Robbie Richards with 9 to go, staying on that back bumper of the 9 of LaBeouf, also trying to clear. He will clear that lapped machine of Bill Lester, and the battle goes back to the front 2 as you look back off from Brady LaBeouf. He's able to get a little bit of a run off turn 4, Jordan, but this battle is not over with 8 to go. Richards is hungry, breathing down the neck of the 9 of Brady LaBeouf, and it's all going to come down to these last 8 laps.
And a lot of pressure on the 9 right now because he's just got so many fast drivers behind him. Robbie Richards has been up into the top this whole entire night alongside the 9 of Brady LaBeouf, so he's got a tough competitor behind him, and so he's just got to fight him off. Yes, there's pressure, but he's just got to go with the way his truck wants to take these corners and really try and walk away with that win, because it'd be huge for him for points and maybe put him up a few spots in the point series, and just let alone a great night to start off the weekend, especially for a win, especially in a series that he's running in. And, you know, it'd be great for the 9, and hopefully he can walk away with it.
7 laps to go. Richards stays on that back bumper. What can LaBeouf do here other than defend? This is all the 9 truck can do. They're on even tires. They pitted on the same lap. Neither of them need to take fuel for the rest of this race. It all just comes down to who has the faster truck. 6 laps to go. They work around the lap machine of Jacob Klinkart in the 42. They go right on around. Back to the bottom of the racetrack. Just a few truck lengths now separating these 2 at the front. And Klinkart gets into contact with the wall, doesn't spin around. We are good to stay green with 5 to go. Richards is in full attack mode right now, but he's fallen back a little bit, Jordan. This is not going to help the 48.
And this is just helping the 9 get further and further away from P number 2, so he's just got to hold off for the next 5 laps. 4 to go at the line, so this is really an open door for the 9. He's got a lap car ahead of him, so hopefully this doesn't affect the 9. You can see he's going to try and power on through the outside of that 61, I believe, which is Stephen Gregory, and so he's just got to make sure it's nice and clean and try and keep off the 48.
Diving back through turns 1 and 2. Richards losing a bit of time now. He went to the outside to try and get around Stephen Gregory. Not the best course of action, as we see a couple of lapped machines going battling in the background. Bill Lester made a move to the bottom of the racetrack to try and get around. I believe it was Jacob Klinkart in the 42 there. Caution flag is out! This will change everything, as Bill Lester, I believe, just caused that yellow flag with Jacob Klinkart, and this is going to change the entire race. Jordan, the yellow flag gets thrown. What on earth happened here? Lester to the bottom takes out Jacob Klinkart in the 42 after getting loose.
And both of them just into the wall, completely nose first. So those, I believe, are 2 totaled cars for the night. You can see an onboard of the 95 of Bill Lester trying to go on the inside of the 42, but just makes contact with that rear panel of that machine, and into the wall he goes. A huge hard hit, but Josh, this is heating up for a crazy finish of this race. These drivers are going to have to fight really, really hard. Mainly speaking, the 9, because he's really been fighting for this lead this whole night. And so these drivers are going to be bunched up when we go back racing. Anything can change when the green flag flies.
The one caution of the night, we have been green to the end, except for the stage breaks, comes with 4 laps to go. Don't think that you can script it. any better than this. This will be our first time going into a green-white checkered attempt this year. We have 2 attempts at a green-white checkered finish, and if you're not familiar with a green-white checkered overtime finish when it comes to NASCAR racing, how it works is they'll take the green flag, go on to 2 laps to go, then they will go to the white flag. If they make it to the white flag, the race will be official. There will not be another yellow flag that is called. They will race back to the checkered flag. But if a caution comes out with 2 laps to go on that green flag lap, we will see them get racked up one more time and go green once again to get a successful overtime finish. This is going to be intense here, Jordan, because guess who's back in this fight? The 13 of Michael McKinnon's back in it. The 11 of Dustin Scruggs is back in it. I'd even go as far as to say Raul Meza in P5 is back in the fight for the win. This is going to get interesting at the tail end of this race. It is not a 2-horse fight anymore. It's more like a 4 or 5 horse fight.
And you know, Josh, I feel so bad for the 9 of Brady LaBeouf because he fought so hard. No, his night's not over. He's just got so much work to do now to hold off those drivers. And like he said, it opens up the door for a lot more drivers to win tonight. We've seen Dustin Scruggs in the 11 make a tremendous move. Yes, he's a few cars back, but Josh, can the 11 make his way on by and maybe even walk away with that win? But he's got a lot more drivers ahead of him and behind him that are furious for that win.
Everybody is now going to be fighting all out for this race win. We'll rack them up. Overtime restart from virtual Las Vegas. We will step away for an incredibly quick break and be right back here for the end of this race. The final, one of the final restarts of the night. If we get another caution, we'll rack them up again. But it's the first overtime attempt, and it's coming up next on Racecraft TV.
This is iRacing, the world's premier online racing game. iRacing puts you in the driver's seat to experience today's newest form of competitive motorsport, virtual racing, all from your home PC. Race virtually in endorsed series from NASCAR, IndyCar, IMSA, the World of Outlaws, Aussie Supercars, and more. Take on legendary circuits like Daytona, Silverstone, and the Nürburgring. Join iRacing's global online racing community and get on track today at iRacing.com.
Lights out on the pace truck, getting ready to go back to racing. It is overtime finish time from Las Vegas. Joshua Lee, Jordan Hicks back with you here in the booth, and you are tuning in to live coverage of the NASRA Triple M Pulling Truck Series. This is the first time this season we are looking at an overtime finish. Jordan, we're in Las Vegas. All bets are on the table. We're about to flip that last card, but what's going to be on it?
You know, these drivers are really fighting for it, and Josh, I'm really calling for the 9 of Brady LaBeouf. He fought so hard tonight. Yes, he's got a lot of competitors behind him, but he seemed to run away with that lead before, and I think he can do it again when that green flag drops with 2 to go at the line.
The first green-white checkered attempt. We have 2 available to us tonight to get a green flag finish. Let's see what happens. It's LaBeouf on the inside. Robbie Richards on the outside of row 1. Row 2, it's McKinnon and Scruggs. Row 3, Meza and Painter. Green flag flies again, and down to the bottom goes Robbie Richards to try and fall into line side by side. McKinnon and Scruggs. McKinnon gonna try and get that spot. They dive into 1. Richards is going to hold on to P2 for the moment. McKinnon gets by Scruggs for P4, and as they race up and off of the corner to the back straightaway, what is gonna happen as they all get ready to come to the line for the white flag? Still side by side for third as McKinnon blends up the racetrack, trying to cover off the spot on Dustin Scruggs. The white flag is going to be shown. It is 1 to go in the NASRA Triple M Pulling Truck Series from virtual Las Vegas, and the battle for the lead is on. LaBeouf able to hold off, coming through turns 3 and 4. Trying to hold off Robbie Richards in P2. Richards wide on the back bumper. He's gonna go for a move. Where's he gonna make it? Goes low, gets blocked by the 9 of LaBeouf. LaBeouf trying all he can to walk away with this win and coming to the stripe. The 9 of Brady LaBeouf is gonna walk away with his first win of the season from Vegas. What a finish, and Brady LaBeouf, first time winner this season from virtual Las Vegas. 35 laps led tonight, and it all counts at the end. What a win for the 9 of Brady LaBeouf. Jordan, surprising he hasn't gotten to victory lane until this point, but this has got to feel good for LaBeouf, finally on top in this series this season.
No, definitely a well-raced night for the 9 of Brady LaBeouf tonight. Very, very well deserved. And Josh, I guess you can say he played his cards right here in Vegas. And so, you know, what other best way to win in Las Vegas? It's the coolest place to go. You can go out and party. Yes, we're at virtual Las Vegas, but you know, everything is better in Vegas. And what a win for the 9 of Brady LaBeouf, as he's going to walk away victorious, as he's our only second winner to win other than the other drivers who have won twice in a row. So he joins Stephen Thomas in that winner's circle.
6 now unique winners, and you could say Brady LaBeouf knew when to hold them, when to fold them, when to walk away, and when to run, and he ran away with this race win. Let's take a look at your full race results here from virtual Las Vegas as Brady LaBeouf burns it down on the front straightaway. Your winner is Brady LaBeouf in the 9. Robbie Richards comes home P2. Michael McKinnon P3. Dustin Scruggs P4, with Devin Painter rounding out your top 5. Chris Cinnamon P6. Raul Meza P7. Kyle S P8. Taylor Peacock and Clint Mata round out your top 10. Stephen Thomas, Jose Luis Rivera 11th and 12th, with Cody Knott, Logan Quinn, and Joey Doucette rounding out your top 15. Dana Shepard, Brandon Bullock, Stephen Gregory, Jeffrey Sickles, and Eric Zimmerman rounding out your top 20. And rounding out your field, it is Bill Lester, Jacob Klinkart, and Tori Thompson. Let's get right to our post-race interviews tonight, and let's speak with your race winner. It is Brady LaBeouf. Brady, what a night for you. Just start off by talking about how much this means to you. First win of the season. I know this one has got to feel good, especially getting it in Las Vegas.
Man, this is my first win ever in NASRA. We've been doing this over a year ago. This goes back to the JWR days, and second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth, you name it. Never the W. So I'm gonna celebrate this one.
I did not know about the entire history and that this is your first win of all time, and that has got to make it even more special. And when that caution came out, you knew you were going into overtime. What was the reaction in the cockpit? Because the reaction up here was, oh my, this is going to change everything. Did you have any doubts that maybe on the restart that you wouldn't be able to get away from the 48, because he was right there since those pit stops and you guys were trading back and forth multiple times?
Yeah, I knew I had to get around Robbie there early in the run, because I knew if I can control the race that I could hold him off. And he even told me, he come on the radio when the caution came out, and he said, man, you had it, because I could get to you, but I couldn't pass you. So yeah, my heart dropped whenever that came out, because I just didn't know who had tires and what was going to happen.
And now moving forward, Talladega in 1 week's time. Could we see you go back to back and really put that icing on the cake? Or is Talladega going to be one of those wild card races for you where you just have no idea what's going to happen? You're just going to go in trying to put a dart on the dartboard and hope it hits the bullseye.
Oh, well, I'll tell you like this, I'm going for it. So I typically run well at the super speedway, so I'm definitely going to go for it, and I plan to go back to back.
Well, we'll see what happens in 1 week's time. Looking forward to seeing you there, Brady. Congratulations on your first NASRA Triple M Pulling Truck Series win, and we'll see you in 1 week's time from virtual Talladega. Thank you for joining us here post-race.
Thank you, and thank you to Racecraft, NASRA, Michael McKinnon, all those guys, Mission One Esports, NRE Powered Systems, and the wife and kids.
Thank you very much for joining us here. Brady LaBeouf, your race winner from virtual Las Vegas. And we now transition over to runner-up finisher Robbie Richards in the number 48. And he joins us in the booth now. Robbie, it was close but not enough here tonight from Las Vegas. What more did you need to beat the 9 truck of Brady LaBeouf? Because it was you guys at the front really at the end of there.
Yeah, I think I probably shouldn't have pretty much gave him the outside, after the pit stops. I think that's probably what screwed me a little bit.
But he continued to try and get around him, but it just looked like it was a battle between the two of you, and it looked like a battle a little bit between you and Dirty Air, because you would get behind him and just could not either get to the bottom, couldn't get to your line well. Was that sort of what you were feeling inside the car tonight, that once you got behind him, it was kind of difficult to get around him?
Yeah, it was definitely Dirty Air involved, because when I was able to get around Jose earlier in the run, I was able to take off with the clean air. So I was trying to use the lap cars as a pick to maybe put Brady, maybe I can get a run around Brady. But that wasn't going to happen either. So I pretty much just fell in line and kind of rode with him so I wouldn't get too far behind and maybe cool the tires down a little bit. And fortunately, the caution come out, so that threw those plans out the window.
And now going over to Talladega, can you get your 3rd win of the season there, become the winningest driver of the season? Because now you are tied with Dustin Scruggs and Keith Bradley, and Kyle Hess is having 2 wins on the season. You haven't won since Kentucky. How hungry are you to get back to victory lane, and can you do it at Talladega?
Yeah, man, Talladega is definitely up in the air for anybody. Anybody can win that race. I'm not too fond of super speedway racing. I end up somehow screwing up somewhere along the lines, but I mean, we'll definitely go give a shot at it and see what happens. Congratulations to Brady. I know he's been looking for that win for a long time.
Thank you so much for joining us. No, sorry, continue.
Been quite a few races for him. I mean, he started with season 1 with us, and he's came close, but huge congratulations to him.
Well, thank you so much for joining us post-race here. Robbie, congratulations on your 2nd place finish from Virtual Vegas.
I appreciate it, man. Thank you.
Good to hear from Robbie Richards, 2nd place finisher tonight. And we go to your final driver on the podium, Michael McKinnon. He finishes P3 on the night. And Michael, it looked like an up and down night for you. You didn't really leave that top 5 at all, but just didn't have the pace to keep up with those race leaders. What more did the 13 truck need tonight?
I don't know what it needed. I think it needed clean air. We always want to put on a good show for everybody, but it was so hard to pass without clean air. I think if I could have ever got out in the front, save out a little bit of tire, it'd been great. First of all, shout out to Brady. He helped me found this league. And 3rd season in, great run for him, man.
And going through that race, the pit stops happened, and you were down about 1.5 seconds to those race leaders, and then they caught lap traffic, didn't hold them up too much, so you just kind of kept staying there in P3. But solid night for you. What does this do for the confidence going forward on these intermediates? Because we have a good amount of them coming up on the schedule, especially in the playoffs. Does this bode well for you going into those playoff rounds?
Well, I mean, we're always fast. We always qualify good. We race well for a while, and something usually happens to us. Either it's self-inflicted or something else. So I'm pretty confident we can stay up and compete with everybody. It was a great points night for me. That helps because I'll be in Talladega next week instead of racing Talladega, unless I can get the hot spot of my pickup hot enough to pick up a signal, and then I might be able to join y'all. But yeah, we're confident going forward, feeling good about how it's going.
And going forward to Talladega, obviously not an intermediate plate track, but the first plate track we're going to see of the season. Any confidence heading into Dega, or is it going to be one of those tough races that you're just going to try and muscle your way through and get away with the top 5 if you can?
Well, if I'm able to go, I'm going to try to get to the front, stay to the front, because anytime I fall toward the middle or the back, I get wiped out. So we're going to try to get to the front and see what we can do with it, man. appreciate you guys doing this for us every week. Josh, Jordan, all the people that watch, we appreciate it. All the families and that put up with us doing it. And thank you guys again, man.
Thank you very much for joining us here post-race, Michael, and congratulations on your 3rd place from Vegas.
Appreciate it, guys. We'll see you later on, I hope.
Thank you very much. That was Michael McKinnon, 3rd place finisher here from virtual Las Vegas. And as the action ends here from Vegas, Jordan, just going over what happened tonight. And it was an intense battle from the start. Jose Luis Rivera strong at the beginning, struggles on pit road, led to him falling down the order, and Brady LaBeouf walking away with his first win ever in NASRA. Huge to see and great to see as well. Brady LaBeouf get to victory lane. He has been strong all season, and no doubt this is going to help him in the points. He came in 6th place. He's trying to catapult himself further up into that top 5.
You know, definitely a great night here in Vegas. You know, a great win like you were talking about for Brady LaBeouf in the 9. A huge congratulations to him and everyone who ran behind him and fought with him. You know, a great battle to everybody because, you know, it's so hard to race with so many good drivers, especially on iRacing all together like that. And so a great run for everybody tonight, but Josh, Talladega next week, it's going to be fun.
Talladega Super Speedway in 1 week's time, Friday, October 1st, 8:50 p.m. Eastern. We hope you'll join us from virtual Talladega to see all the action go down, racing over 180 miles an hour, inches apart. You do not want to miss the action from Dega. But that'll do it for live coverage here on Racecraft TV of the NASRA Triple M Pulling Truck Series from virtual Las Vegas. For Brady LaBeouf of the North American Sim Racing Association, for Josh Edmondson at Racecraft TV, cameras by Istvan Ballo, and for my colleague in the booth, Jordan Hicks, my name is Joshua Lee. Thank you so much for tuning into live coverage of the City That Never Sleeps 250 from virtual Las Vegas, and we hope to see you in 1 week's time from virtual Talladega.